So I've always wanted to make a change in the world. I've always enjoyed watching things change and improve with time. Before I was a scientist, I come from an academic background, and that was great to see the change, but it's a very long process to see what you're doing and the impact it will have long term. So by being an entrepreneur, you can really see the impact more quickly. So that's what led me to entrepreneurship. So I saw the world was suffering from big problems like air pollution and aging, and healthcare really made me make the final leap into entrepreneurship because I thought it's an area where I can do something with my technical skills to help it. So I took part in a program called D-Health run by Mobio, which was a great opportunity where you go inside a hospital to look for real unmet clinical needs. And that's where I saw people suffering from COPD in the hospital, and I thought, how can I do something to change this? And the answer was to go earlier in the process and help them get a diagnosis earlier so they can avoid getting to the late stage of that disease. I was lucky to meet my co-founder in the same innovation program as me, and she came from a biology background which complemented my physics background. And now as we grow the team, we look for complementary profiles as diverse as possible who share our values. I think the most strategically important decision we made was to move to Germany last year and take part in the Vision Health Pioneers Incubator, because this gave us a look from a very different perspective to where we are in Spain, and allowed us to meet very different stakeholders and some great mentors which helped boost the project. I think the best advice I've ever been given is that an idea is worth nothing unless you act on it. And so share your ideas and just make sure you move as quickly as possible to make them a reality. That's where the hard work comes in, and that's where the benefits can be rewarded. So my number one advice would be to really understand your customer and their needs. Especially true in healthcare, as in most businesses, but in healthcare you have many different stakeholders with many different complex needs. And to really create a solution of value which will be successful, you have to understand how they all interplay and what their interests are. 3 things I've learned on my entrepreneurial journey. The first maybe would be that there isn't a right answer to things in business. In science, you always look for the right answer and take a lot of time to find it, whereas in business, it's quite often, there's not one way right or the other, you just have to go for one of them, and in the long term, you'll see where that leads you, but it could present opportunities which you never thought of before. I think a big thing I've learned is that the medtech and biotech entrepreneurial journey is very different from other businesses, and that's very complicated, and it's definitely worth seeking out really specific advice from people who know that sector, because a lot of general startup advice doesn't work so well in the medtech sector. So it's definitely good to focus on medtech or biotech. And then I think another thing I've learned is that you just have to reach out to people and get help wherever you can. Don't hold it back or feel guilty about asking people for help, because people actually appreciate that and you might end up helping them in another way. I mean, I would have liked to know all the administrative stuff that goes with starting up a company, because from the outside it's very hard to understand what's really involved until you're actually doing it. And it's very complicated and bureaucratic in lots of levels. And so it would be good to have help early on that process. But there are people to help, like Barcelona de Biocat are great for helping with this. So knowing that help exists would also have been great. So over the next few years, we really like to achieve, or I would really like to achieve, that we have funding, private investment in our company to help it achieve our goals and get our product to market. And then apart from that, I really want to have a team which I enjoy working with and is growing and making something sustainable for the future.